it's quite likely that the learning experience, the environment, the space that you're going to encounter will be quite different to what you've encountered in your past learning. I can say this with a degree of confidence because every other time this unit's run, that's exactly what the students have said. Everybody has said this is so different to what we've normally done. For some people that's been different positively, and for other people that's been different negatively. I'm always reminded of this great quote by Parker J. Palmer. All students are not alike. They come to university in varying degrees of readiness for what could be one of the greatest adventures of their lives. They differ too in what catches their fancy, what dampens their enthusiasms. A particular university experience or certain mode of instruction may challenge one student and move him or her towards further development as a person. But for another student, that same challenge may be utterly regressive in terms of its outcomes. That's where many of you will be at. Some of you will think, wow, this was fantastic, and others will be thinking to themselves, I really don't like this. So this short video is to give you a bit of a preview of what you can expect. So rather than discovering it after the event, I want you to be fully aware of what you're heading into. Some people may find the initial workshop and the process of how the unit runs as a very comfortable process. Others may be very uncomfortable with it. I don't want you to be either. I want you to be open. I want you to come in with an open mind and be open to what may or may not happen. Some of you may prefer to work alone, don't want to be in a group. Some of you may want to be in a group. I actually just want you to have the ability to choose. So in this unit, you're going to have the ability to choose. And I'll explain that more as we go further into the unit. Some of you may come to the unit with set expectations. It could be about my role as an educator, or about your ability as a student, or about what you expect to get from the unit. Some of you may have no expectations. Again, I'm not looking for you to have either. I just want you to be aware. I want you to be constantly aware that things are different, that things are happening around you, that you can respond and react to those things as we're going through. As we get into the unit, you'll see there are 3 pieces of assessment. A pre-test, which happens before we meet for the first time, an interim learning report, and a final learning report. The 2 learning reports have exactly the same format, they just have different areas of focus. And you'll see the weighting for these is 20%, 40 and 40. What's really interesting is when we think about the nature of the cognition that's required for you to succeed in this unit. That standard sort of read the text, memorize the text, that accounts for only 20%. So if that's your real strength, if you're really good at reading it, remembering it, trying to understand it, that's only going to get you 20% of the marks, all right? The other marks are associated with your ability to imagine how you would use the theory and the concepts that you're going to be introduced to in the pre-test, and your ability to reflect, to develop some self-love about you, an understanding of you. So these are the things that you're not strong at, and many students aren't. Many students aren't strong at being able to really take the ideas forward and apply them into their lives, or to reflect deeply on their own thinking and their own lives. Then you need to use the resources that are going to be made available to you to help you to understand how to get through the interim and final learning reports. In terms of curiosity, if your curiosity normally limits itself to facts, figures, data, theories, then that's great for the pre-test. But that's where that sort of hits the end of the road. To succeed in the interim learning report and the final learning report, you need to have a curiosity about other people's thinking, the people that you work in your groups with. Okay? You need to be mindful of what do they bring to it? Why do they think the way that they think? How was the ideas in your group developing in certain ways? So you really need to be tuned into them. And secondly, you really need to be tuned into you. You need to become a decent critic of yourself and an admirer of yourself. So a nice balance, developing this awareness of who you are. The hurdles that most people face in this unit is that you look at the theory that you're picking up in the pre-test and you think, there's not much of it. that's it. You only just need me to memorize these 20 odd things here and that's it. I've paid a lot of money for this unit. Where's the rest of the theory? This unit's a low cognitive load unit, which means that we're only using a small amount of theory, but we're going to use it continuously and in different ways and increasingly at deeper levels. So what I need you to do is to trust the process, because all the assessment here, other than the pretest, is based on you following a process. So you can't fight the process. You have to trust the process. If you trust the process, you'll learn and you'll get a reward for your learning. The big challenge between the interim learning report and the final learning report is that while I'm assessing you for the process in the interim learning report, I'm looking for you to go much deeper with the process in that final learning report. And obviously you'll get more instruction on how to complete those tasks. When it comes to thinking about the learning space that you're going to come into, we tend to sort of be surrounded by these paradoxes, right? We separate the head from the heart. We separate the facts from the feeling. We separate the theory from the practice. We even separate the teaching from the learning. One of the challenges with that is that we get people quite often looking at these and saying, oh, well, it's the head, not the heart, or it's the feelings, not the facts, and so on. In this unit, we want to try and overcome these paradoxes, and we want to put an and in there. So there's always an and. So we're not looking to have these two, really diverse positions that it's natural for you to hold, right? It's natural for you to preference practice or theory. It's natural for you to preference feelings or facts, heart or head. But what I'm challenging you to do in this unit, in terms of you being able to complete the process, is for you to make sure that you put an and in that middle position rather than the not. So let's have a look at what that will look like for you in this unit. The learning space that you're going to come into has got a whole range of paradoxes which are very common for the average student. And what I want to help you understand is the challenge that you're going to face in going through that process. The learning space, it's both bounded and it's open. When I say bounded, you've got the pre-test materials, that body of theory and concepts. That creates a bounded space. We're not going further than that. We're just going to be governed by those theory. But you can take that theory anywhere you want, to any context, to any idea, and you can play with it in your learning report. So that's the section 1 space in both reports. And in section 2, when you're doing your reflections, then we're very much looking for you to bring your life in. So the learning space is both bounded by the nature of the materials I'm introducing you to in the pretest, but it's very open in terms of how you'll use those materials, how you allow your interests, your passions to actually come in for you to find people to work with where you can actually have your life being present in that space. The learning space, I want it to be very hospitable, and I also want it to be very charged. So I say hospitable because I want you to come in and feel very safe. Doing something different, you're experiencing a different way of learning possibly. So I want you to feel very comfortable. I don't want you to feel nervous about that, all right? Trust the process. It'll all work its way through. But it should also be a very charged space at the same time, because I'm wanting you to think about how these ideas that we're working with have got an application in your immediate future, perhaps in your current future, right? So it's not just this, oh yeah, we're safe here. It's also, wow, that puts me on a bit of an edge because I can see how this stuff could help me to get a job. I can see how this stuff could help me to create some new value for other people. The learning space invites the voice of the individual and the voice of the group. So you've got this opportunity to use your reflections and use your group work to identify your voice, to understand how you are the same, how you're different than other people. You also have an opportunity to be represented as a group voice in your presentations that you make during the unit. But you don't need to feel like you've had to give in to a consensus in terms of the group voice, because you're entitled to have alternative opinions that will still be very valid in your reflections and in your written theoretical work. And I'll explain that shortly. The learning space honours your little stories as much as it does the discipline's big stories. Your voice, your individual voice, is encouraged in all of the assessed piece of works in the interim and the final learning reports. Your individual voice will be recognised by me. Always, always. I'm not looking for you to conform, to move in a particular direction. You can take that process that you have in front of you off in different directions. But I'm also looking for you to respect the nature of the big stories, the environmental interaction framework, which you'll discover in the pre-test process. That's a synthesis of all of the big ideas that matter in and around the process of entrepreneurship. And they've been put together into a framework for you to allow you to go out and apply them. The learning space supports solitude, and it also supports community. So you get to choose the type of focus that you want to have. You get to choose how much depth that you'll take to that focus. You'll choose how you'll frame the nature of your explanations. But you also get to choose the type of interest area that you want to engage with, the nature of the group members that you want to engage with, the types of rules that you and your group would actually want to use. You get to choose all of that. And what's important to also remember here is that the group work is not assessed. Your individual take on the group work is what's being assessed. Okay? So you've got full control over what is being submitted in terms of your assessments. And lastly, the learning space welcomes silence and speech. So you get to decide, when do you want to be present in the conversations? What do you want to contribute? When do you want to be visible? When do you want to be heard? These are all decisions that you can make, and they're entirely up to you. And as long as you're aware of the nature of what you're deciding and what that means for you, then you'll be fine. In terms of my tips, turn up to class. We only have 3 set workshops. There'll be lots of online tutorials, and there's a early workshop in week 2 to help you sort of get a bit of a sense around what we're going to be doing. But you've only got 3 workshops to get to, and if you can't get there because they're on Saturdays, they're generally Saturday mornings, if you can't get there because you've got to work or you might have a pre-existing commitment, then we've got Monday classes to catch up, generally between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock. So as long as you get to one of those, you'll give yourself every chance of doing really well in the unit. The second tip is that it's really important to keep an open mind. I've already said this is unlikely to be a learning process that you're familiar with, so keep an open mind. You can fight it and you can resist it, that's fine, that's your choice. Or you can allow yourself to go with this process. And if you do, then you'll get a lot out of it, okay? And my last tip is that trust the process. It may seem like you're heading off in a blind direction, but just trust the process. Maybe you know somebody who's already done the unit before. They may have liked it or not liked it, or being still confused by it. But if you talk to them, you'll get a bit of a sense for how they actually managed to go through the unit. Ask them, who do they think did well in the unit? Who didn't do well in the unit? Okay? But trust the process. So come to class, keep an open mind, and trust the process. If you do those things, you've got a really good chance of doing well in the unit. And finally, if you have any problems at all, come talk to me. I really am happy. If your problem is you hate the unit, then come and talk to me. If there's a possibility that we can do something to get you into another unit, I'll help you. All right? I'll help you to do that. I'd much rather see you enjoying your time. But if it's other challenges with the unit, in terms of you feel uncomfortable being vulnerable to the process or working with other people or whatever the issue might be, just come and see me. You can email me, you can text me, you can phone me. We've got a Facebook group which you'll see shortly. You can contact us on that. Just come and have a chat. We generally are able to sort pretty much any problem out. All the best.